What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a great wide receiver football IQ quiz to test your knowledge of the position. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and you would like a daily training schedule to follow for 4 months with the exact gym exercises wide receivers should be doing, check out that very first link in the description below for our 16-week wide receiver gym workout plan. It's 4 months of daily gym exercises broken down with sets, reps, and examples of each exercise. So check out that very first link in the description below, fellas, if you're interested. Let's get started with this video. So now, first things first, this question is going to be, I'm going to play the clip full speed. If you're not familiar with our quiz style videos, how we do them is I'll show a clip or I'll pause a clip and give you a pre-snap look. I'll ask you a series of questions about it. I'll give you a chance to pause the video, think about your answer, and then we'll break it down and talk about why your answer was correct or not correct. So this first example here, I'm going to play it full speed and then we'll talk about the clip. So how do you guys think this wide receiver could have avoided this happening right here? So this is kind of everybody's biggest nightmare when they're going up against a bigger DB, a linebacker in press, just getting completely pressed all the way to the floor. So what do you think this wide receiver could have done to prevent this from happening? So I'm going to play it again one more time. What do you think he could have done to prevent this from happening? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So now, when you have a guy who's inside shape, right? Number one thing that you have to understand is why is he playing inside leverage? You know, it looks like pre-snap he's probably going to be physical. It looks like he wants to get hands on us just based off of his size, obviously. But the main thing we got to address is what's his leverage. There are 3 things that you want to identify when coming up to line. DB's leverage, how close or how far he is, and then what type of coverage it is. So it's definitely man coverage. He's right up on the line, and he's inside shade. So if I have to run a route, like let's say, for example, he didn't even get into this route, but let's say this is a fade. Now, this is probably not the most realistic press coverage look here, but it's still press coverage and this could still happen. It's within 5 yards. A DB has plenty freedom to do this. So if you said you wanted to threaten his leverage a little bit more instead of just taking off and running to the outside, that would be correct. Now, if you guys said, oh, he wants to have a plan with his hands, he needs to swat his hands, that's not necessarily wrong, but your feet will set up the hands. So remember, DB's lined up inside shade. With his release, he just kind of steps back and just tries to fight the hands immediately. Fellas, I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't care how tall you are when you're going up against a linebacker type who's got this build, that athletic, very talented dude. Our game is not going to be hand fighting. We are never going to win this battle. I don't care how good I am with my hands. I don't care if I swat his hands because he's just going to be bigger and he's just going to be stronger. That's not my game. My game is setting him up with my feet, trying to threaten him with my quickness, with me being able to sell a route and then getting up into the route. So I can't be that guy who just tries to hand fight. Your feet set up the hands. So if I got this inside leverage guy, we know that with my release, even if it's just a quick little jab to the inside, all I need him to do is just to hesitate so I can get a free outside release. Now, if you said, oh, he needs to swat his hands better, you would be partially correct. But when it comes to hand technique off the line, it's all about having a plan and keeping it simple. So if we're trying to take an outside release versus inside shade press, which hand do we have to beat? Do we have to worry about this hand? No, all we got to do is beat his right hand. But if I don't threaten him, and that's what this wide receiver is doing, he's swatting the inside hand. But if I don't threaten him and I'm just running straight to the sideline, which is what he wants me to do, this is going to be the result every single time against a stronger guy. Fellas, you have to threaten his leverage. Whenever he's giving you a leverage, you have to threaten it. You can never just take off and run. That is not something that we can do as a wide receiver. Even if it's just a quick jab and a quick head and shoulder fake to the inside, just something to hold him there so this doesn't happen. So if that's what you guys said, that would be 100% correct. Having a plan with the hands, that would be correct as well, but not 100% what we're looking for. Okay, so now this is going to be a goal line concept here. I'm going to give you guys a pre-snap look and ask a series of questions about this pre-snap look. Then I'll play it full speed like you're probably familiar with. So against this specific coverage, I'm not going to tell you what type of coverage this is. You're going to have to go through that pre-snap process yourself. Against this coverage, how would you run a 10-yard out route in the red zone, though? Mind you, it is in the red zone. So how would you run a 10-yard out on the goal line in the red zone? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. Pause the video. Okay, let's break this thing down. So if you guys said pre-snap, remember, we have to go through that pre-snap process. Number one, DB is lined up outside shade. Number two, he's maybe about 2 yards away from me. Number three, it is man coverage. His eyes are on me and he is in a squatted stance. He's not looking to the inside. He's not looking at the number two receiver or the quarterback. So we know it's man. We know it's outside leverage. So what is he trying? Because again, let's think about the last example. What were we talking about? Leverages. What was his responsibility? His responsibility is to protect the outside. Do not let us run an out route. Don't let us run a comeback, a fade. Force everything to the inside. So with my release, what do you think you have to do? If you guys said you want to attack his inside shoulder to try to flip his hips and then slip underneath, that would be incorrect. Simply because that wouldn't work in this situation because we're on the goal line. We're in the red zone. He's not threatened by a straight up fade. But what he is threatened by is a fade with an outside release. So if you guys said you want to attack his leverage, then take an inside release and stack and then give a move, that would be correct. Now, if you guys said because we were in the red zone, you want to try to square him up, give him a fake inside, take the outside release and stack, that would be wrong as well. Now, ideally on a 10-yard out, any kind of outside breaking route, a corner, a comeback, we would love an outside release. Ideally, that's what we want. If we can get it, we should take it. But against a disciplined DB, and I'm going to tell you this right now, every single NFL DB is a disciplined DB. They will not give up that outside. You go to attack his leverage to the outside, you see what he does? He stays patient, he keeps his feet moving, and he keeps his leverage. We have to be comfortable taking what he gives me with the inside release. So when I get to that top of the break, at least I gave the quarterback some room to throw me open or just space for myself to be able to separate. If you're that guy that forces it and this DB's right on your hip and you break on the out route, that ball is going to be pick six, taken back probably 98 the other way if the quarterback even throws it. And they're taught not to throw it. So you have to give the QB space and you got to trust yourself at the top of the route. So the release is not where we get open. That's not where we make our money. We make our money at the top of the break. We keep timing and we keep spacing with my release. That's what you guys have to remember. Your press release, we get a lot of questions. Coach, what are the best press releases to use? What can I use for this? Honestly, it can be very simple. It just needs to get this guy moving, move him off his platform, give you a free release, whether that's inside or outside, and it keeps timing. Those are the main things. DB's goal and press, disrupt timing. If we can get off a press without disrupting timing, we did our job. Our separation comes at the top of the break. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, what if I do that and this DB's maybe faster than me? And instead of being able to stack him like Amari Cooper does, he's right on my hip. What do you think you would do? You would take this right arm, you would put it on his right shoulder or his right hip, and you would throw him by and slip underneath on the out route. Because guess what? Even if he speed turns, you have all of this space to the sideline to run because we didn't force the outside release. It's all about taking what that DB gives you, fellas. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Cooper attacking that leverage, making that DB move off the platform, and getting that free inside release. Okay, so next example I want to talk about here. This should honestly be pretty simple. At least I think after the things that we have covered in this video so far. But we have inside shade press coverage. I'm going to give you guys that. How would you guys run a 10-yard in route or dig route versus this specific type of coverage? Okay, so inside shade press looks like he wants to be physical. How would you guys run a 10-yard dig route versus this coverage? You guys can go ahead and pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So when we have inside shade, remember, just like the first example we were looking at with Justin Flo, what is his goal with inside shade? To prevent the inside route. Do not let that wide receiver run to the inside. So I'm kind of screwed, right? If I have a dig route, he's trying to take away the dig, I got to think of something else rather than give him a fake outside and take the inside release and stack him and then go. I got to have something better. And that means taking what he gives you. If that's what you guys said, I'm glad you were paying attention to the last example because that's what you would want to do. Now, this wide receiver does a little hesitation move, attacks the leverage, takes the outside release, and works that throw-by move that we were talking about on the out route, right? So when I'm doing that, I remember that last example I said, what if you can't restack? What do? You took Amari Cooper's right hand, you swat him by, and you slip underneath, but you have spacing. Same thing on this because remember, when you're running a dig, it's over the middle. Right? So what is on the other side of the field? This is a simple question. What's on the other side of the field? Other receivers, other defenders, other routes. The spacing of the play requires you to be at a certain spot. So, like, let's say, for example, let's draw up a play here. Like, let's say this is the outside. This is you out of the slot right here. Outside's running a post. You're running a dig. The slot over here is running a drag. If you take this hard inside release and get rerouted and then run your dig, you're going to run into the drag. You're going to run into all kinds of other defenders and screw up the play. That screws up the quarterback's read. So anytime in one-on-ones, when you see wide receivers do these big inside stems and they catch a dig on the other hash, and then people will say, oh, well, it's a crossing route. You're never going to run that against man coverage. And that DB did his job. He threw you off your entire route and forced you across the field into other defenders. One defender could guard two routes now because the spacing was off. So let's take what he gives us. Let's attack his leverage inside. Let's take the outside release. And again, like we said, we don't always have to restack him. It's not always going to be perfect, but as long as you have a plan, I get him to flip his hips open. Maybe I sell fade. This receiver could have done a better job of selling fade for sure, but great job putting the brakes on and slipping under and now being able to accelerate out of the break because he gave himself room. The quarterback can actually lead him now rather than having to move on to another receiver because you're 10 yards across the field. That is textbook. That's exactly how you want to run that dig versus inside shade press. So if that's what you guys said, that would be 100% correct. And I'm glad you're paying attention to this, fellas, because trust me, I harp on this stuff all the time, and receivers still do it wrong. But there's a reason why you see the top guys in the NFL, top guys in college, all the best route runners that you love to watch do these things on a consistent basis. That's why we're so consistent with these uploads, because you guys have to see it over and over again, and it's not going to get engraved in your head, and you're not going to learn it. People are always trying to learn a million different skills. How about we focus on one thing, and let's get it down, and let's keep it simple before we move on to the next. Let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver attacking that leverage, taking what he gives, and being able to accelerate out. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like a full 4-month wide receiver gym workout schedule to follow on a day-to-day basis, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that. I'll see you guys next time.